Part of what has been so important to me through the years is, bringing humanity and the heart and soul and the feeling about these conversations that we've been afraid to touch on. The High Wire, started out in the space of vaccines and, the investigation of the medical establishment. But as you've been watching, it's opening up to a much bigger issue that's out there. We're starting to talk about central reserve banking systems. What if they go to crypto? What's going to happen there? AI, issues happening in our schools, our families being torn apart by laws that are giving our children educations we're not happy about. All of that is a part of this movement, and this movement has been documented in a way like no other. What I'm talking about is the series of Plandemic movies. It started with Plandemic 1, then Plandemic 2 took it to another level, and we are happy to be premiering Plandemic 3, or more importantly, The Great Awakening. This is the new film by Mickey Willis, and we have the hot new trailer off the presses. He ran it in by hand just minutes ago. Take a look at this.
Breaking news, the president declaring a national emergency.
This is a global pandemic.
Banning unvaccinated people from all but the most essential businesses.
We will shut you down.
There will have to be things that will essentially put pressure on them.
We will cite you.
Don't think you can get on a plane or a train.
And we will take you to jail.
So it's a pretty good incentive, or we will keep you in a facility longer.
As the world was descending into synchronized tyranny, I began to ask myself,
oh, it feels so good. I know.
How did they get everyone to go along with this? Obsessed with finding the answer, I began studying every moment in recorded history where masses of people acted against their own self-interest.
F them, f their freedom. I want my freedom to live.
Screw your freedom. You're a schmuck.
If you're seeing this video, that means I've already been taken by the police.
Here we are now with an economy in crisis, but with an incredible opportunity.
Unprecedented opportunity.
For a reset.
Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished heads of state and government, the future is built by us. We need a great reset.
When they say, you'll be happy, what they mean is, you'll be enslaved.
There are forces using fear and isolation to induce mass psychosis.
You probably assume you're safe. That could be a deadly mistake.
Bracing for food shortages.
I don't want you to be hopeful.
Environmental doom.
Fires.
I want you to panic.
Storms.
It will kill your children.
I want you to feel the fear I feel every day.
When people are afraid, they won't just accept authoritarianism, they'll demand it.
Yesterday I asked ChatGPT, are there any similarities between today's woke revolution and Chairman Mao's cultural revolution of the 1960s? And it wrote back, how long do you have?
He used young people to start cultural revolution, demonize all religions. Families turn on each other, neighbors turn on each other.
The only mechanism that could explain what was happening in society was what is usually referred to as mass formation.
Anyone that goes against this collective mind, you gotta get rid of them, you gotta dispose of them.
And they do so as if it is an ethical duty to do so. That's what makes the process so dangerous.
The question is, how are we going to deprogram these people?
A lot of people need to be deprogrammed right now.
It's now vax and unvaxxed. They have two types of America, those who are vaccinated and those who are not. Clean and unclean.
We can't trust the unvaccinated.
Slave passports.
It's going to be very hard for people unless they can prove their vaccination status.
Internment camps.
Students at Harvard now want to set up re-education camps.
It's the new segregation.
Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale.
Who masters those technologies will be the master of the world.
Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
People are starting to wake up across the world.
I'm seeing people come together from all walks of life, finally saying enough is enough.
We didn't come here for no reason. We have a voice and we're here to share it.
This is not political. This is about globalization. It's about human rights violation.
We have to be the solution. We cannot rely on the media, the president, or whoever to fix these problems.
We need to get away from asking others to solve our problems.
We have to have a say, and it has to be listened to.
Our voices matter.
Open your eyes.
We're all being driven back to the dream.
As you see in the audience, Democrats, Republicans, white, black, everyone all in between, this is the example that they do not want to see, but they have no choice.
The masses of humanity have been slapped awake.
It's time to wake up.
People cannot go back into the matrix now. A lot of people are trying to. They can't.
Well, if you're not down with the Great Reset, then you better get ready for the Great Awakening. I'm joined now by Mickey Willis. Wow. I'm just the trailer. I'm pumped.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really, really excited, Mickey. And let's just take it back just for a minute, because we have a brand new audience every week now, you know, that are waking up to everything that's gone on around them. I remember I first met you in California when I was making Vaxxed. You know, I remember you came around, I think it was popped through Oha, and you said, look, you need any help with your film or anything, you know, I'm here, and we sort of stayed in touch. And then I'll remember, you know, Vaxxed came out, I read, you know, had that whole ride, but, you know, and I think up until the moment, I think Vaxxed really was holding this position as probably the most censored film in history. You know, we were kicked out of Tribeca Film Festival, we were being censored everywhere we were going, and then Plandemic, 1 billion views, but not without just absolute crushing censorship, your website's being taken down, all of it. So, you know, from there and this journey, and then Plandemic 2, what has this experience been for you, and what can we expect now? I mean, I know part of the conversation should we even be calling this Plandemic?
Well, it is part of the series, but it's really spotlighting what the pandemic was used to accelerate.
Okay.
And so it's not about vaccines, but as they have always said, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
And so this crisis, whether it was naturally occurring or intentionally created and released, which I kind of lean towards that,
yeah.
It was leveraged to forward a decades-old agenda, if not 100 years old or so, agenda to undermine and subvert the United States, because the United States is a firewall for a globalized agenda to centralize everything. And now this is a conversation that I don't think many people were willing to even listen to just a couple years ago. There were a lot of this that we wanted to put into Plandemic 2, but I just thought, you know, I don't know if people are ready to hear this yet. And now everyone is talking about it, because they're seeing it. So it's been accelerated so much that it's in our face. And we're, you know, when we talked about, you know, digital implants or passports, people just thought that was a crazy conspiracy theory. Now they're at Davos, part of the World Economic Forum, talking about, you know, that technology is almost ready. And the CBDCs and the central bank currencies and all that, which you mentioned in your intro, you know, that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
That is literally a point when they control, as many of the world dictators have said, when they control the food, when they control the currencies, when they control the power supplies, they control all humanity. And it's hard for people like myself who want to believe that the world is full of just benevolent spirit, to come to terms with the fact that there are people that are literally have been so divorced from their own nature, from humanity itself, and they carry such a wound for whatever happened to them or whatever deficiencies occurred in their life through bad parenting or through being rejected from society, whatever it might be, that they have carried these wounds into their business, their globalized business, in such a way that it literally has the potential to destroy everything.
Yeah.
And that is part of the agenda, is really that when you talk about the Great Reset, what does the Great Reset really mean? It sounds interesting to a lot of people because we all recognize that we're in a system that doesn't serve everyone, and it's broken in many ways. So a reset feels refreshing.
Right.
This whole thing needs a reset. But what they really mean by that is the tearing down of Western civilization So everything that makes this country unique, everything that makes this country the destination for all immigration anywhere in the world, if America was what the media says it is, systemically racist and horrible and bigoted and all these things, why are all of the immigrants rushing to this nation for survival?
Yeah.
And for protection? Because there's something special here of this country that was built upon an agreement, a mission statement, a constitution that honors and protects the individual. But it's been subverted to believe that it's a democracy.
Right.
And the democracy, that thing that you see all the news, that's one of the unintended consequences and beauties of the situation is truth was difficult to find before. It's so easy now. All you have to do is tune into mainstream media. Whatever they're parroting on loop is the lie, right? So all you hear is, a threat to our democracy. They try to amplify that because democracy itself turns into mob rules. And so at the very same group that is talking about protecting minorities are pushing a system that only supports the majority. That's what democracy is. The more, if we have 51% of the power, then the minority gets shut out.
Right.
But a true constitutional republic means the majority protects the individual. And the individual is what has been lost.
Yeah.
That individual, that thing that you and I were both, through the Hollywood system, we were both lured into believing that you don't take care of yourself first, you take care of everyone else, and then you eat the crumbs that are left over.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that they say on an airplane when the mask comes down, put it on first before you try to help anyone else.
Right.
Because we're no good to the world and to each other if we ourselves are not taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up Hollywood. I really grapple with this. We both come out of Hollywood and worked there. And, I've talked about just my politics around this. I remember, when you first come out, I'm just like, this whole liberal agenda or whatever it was, it's changed. But when you really start looking, when I start looking back at my past, how I sort of saw the world, I would say that the thing that when I thought about politics, and it shouldn't be about politics, it's about humanity, right? But when we look at these politics right now, I remember thinking, well, I'm a Democrat because they're for the people, and Republicans are for the corporations. I remember saying things like that. But now when I look back, I would say a central tenet is, that I now recognize, and I hear it in my family members and friends around me that are still sort of trying to pry themselves out of the thinking, but at the center of it is human beings are a disease on this planet.
You just nailed it. And literally, a lot of my favorite movies, Matrix and all these movies, if they have a narrative within them that is about this parasitic, humans are a cancer on the planet. And these narratives were planted long ago because when you look at the pillars that support our society and a lot of the working, thriving societies in the world, there's a foundation of a connection with Creator. There's a respect for nature itself. And the real move is transhumanism. It is to synthesize everything, to digitize everything in such a way that we no longer are honoring. And if you just look at the magnificence of this life we get to experience, the fact that our planet grows food in primary colors that are for the exact organs of in your body. You crack open a carrot and you look at it, it looks like the iris of an eye, and it's eye food. You crack open a walnut, it's a mini brain, 2 hemispheres, and it's brain food.
Right.
Like our planet has provided everything, but systemically we've been guided away from the beauty and brilliance and perfection of nature.
Yeah.
So that we start to worship something synthetic.
Well, we're starting to say all of that's an accident. Nature's
Not at
just
all.
a giant accident, creating a giant accident, and science is here to fix the accident, the mistakes that nature's made. That's where the whole vaccine thing comes in. What people don't realize as you look at it, they want to vaccinate us for the millions and billions of viruses and bacteria walking the planet. They have this idea that we can do this better, even though that's what your immune system is doing every day. Right? It's already doing it. You were already perfectly designed. We could have looked at the couple people that are having some issues. Somehow their immune system got down. They were in trouble. But you look at things like measles. It was, the death rate of like 1.5 million before a vaccine ever came along. And now, but they rewrite that history. They're rewriting our history that we had these systems, that everything sort of works in balance with nature. Now there's no such thing as nature. Now there's not even, my gender is not even decided by nature. It's decided by a doctor. doctor.
Yeah,
That's between me and the doctor and I get to decide, you know, what I'm walking on this planet. I mean, and to me, it really is, I mean, whether we call it God or source, you know, people get triggered. And again, what is the triggering? Right? We've been taught to be triggered by these ideas that there's something bigger than ourselves that's connecting us.
Well, I tell you, this series of Plandemic has really brought me closer to that source. It really has, because I was born and raised without religion and really without any kind of religious input. And I'm grateful for that, because I got to find it on my own.
Yeah.
But through working with so many truly brave people that are in authentic service to humanity, I found that the one thing they have in common is that they all have a connection with God.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side, as we've done a deep dive on all of the major players that are behind this destructive agenda to destroy our lives, to decrease the population, whatever it might be, every single one of them so far, as we look into their private life, are atheists. And so there's something to be said about that. When you lose the touch with that connection with Source, and again, by whatever name you choose to call it, when you lose that connection, that's where these ideologies, that's where now you can have a generation of young people thinking, God is so fallible that I've been put in the wrong body. I belong in that body over there.
Right.
And you can only have those thoughts and have that dysphoria if you lose the connection with the divinity and the perfection and the brilliance of nature itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what has happened to us, is that we have, our natural systems have been so disrupted that there are people now who do need synthetic remedies to survive.
Yeah.
Because their system wasn't honored. And so for me, it's the real awakening, the great awakening, is understanding that we have a choice right now. And I mean that literally. We have the choice. The people have the choice. And if there's any message that I want to convey to the American people and people around the world, it is stop waiting for you, for me, and for any other charismatic leader to come along and save the day. Mm-hmm. That will never happen. We've been lulled into this, you know, voting for the lesser of two evils and thinking that this person is closest to what we believe in, so they're going to come in and fix it. It will never happen. What will happen and what will ensure our victory in this situation is when everyone watching this program right now, regardless of what you have in the bank, regardless of your education level, regardless of your resources or whatever you think might limit you, stepping up to understand that we are in the human organism. Everything else has been a distraction. Race, sexism, all this stuff is a distraction to keep us from remembering that we are all cells within the organism of humanity. And when those cells are disagreeing or even just complacent, just clumped together and not functioning, we have disease. Mm-hmm. So when these cells light up with the impulse that they were born to be activated into, which is life, to help life evolve, when we come back into the remembrance of that original code that inspired us to even inhabit these bodies, then this whole game changes. As fast as it's being destroyed right now, our country and our world, we correct the problem and we fix it together. And so that's the message of Plandemic 3, of the Great Awakening. It's one of the many messages, but it's the message that I hope people take away from, is what are you going to do? What are the people that see themselves as the audience? We've been convinced that we are consumers. That's what they call us on the media, consumers, and we're not. Consumption is taking. We're creators. We're here to give. So what are you here to give? That's my question to the people.
Yeah, and I think we're all, you know, those of us that have, you know, been blessed with, you know, ability to make media, to get to people. But as I've been speaking this last year, when I'm in public, you know, I'm working hard to shift this thought. And that is, you know, when people come up and they want to, you know, say thank you so much for what you do, and you know, we wouldn't be, you know, you're changing the world. I'm like, I'm really not. I'm really not. I'm standing on a stage. I'm one person. You know, I have a great team around me. Mm-hmm. We're getting the truth out. Sure, we've got a decent legal team, but changing the world is the 1,000 of you here. Yeah. Going out and saying whatever it is you do. And then when people ask me, you know, what am I supposed to do, as though somehow, you know, I've got an idea what a thousand, as though there's some sort of cookie cutter one thing I could tell you, and I keep trying to say, you are the very same thing. You are a cell in a body. You may be a heart cell or a brain cell or a leg cell or a toe cell, whatever it is. But if you don't do your job, this entire thing comes crashing down.
That's
and
exactly
you've
right.
got to reach inside yourself right now and recognize you are here for a purpose in what I believe is the most critical, important moment in the history of mankind. We are literally staring, you know, at the precipice. We're looking at a force of AI and technocracy that rips and will tear apart anything that is natural, wants to. It's devouring it as we speak, coming at us. We're either going to win or lose this battle. And what I think is awesome, in our lifetime, we're going to see it.
That's right. What keeps people, what I've discovered for the narrative of the Great Awakening is what's interesting is what keeps good people from getting out in the world and being activated to do good things is actually something benevolent. And that is, we have fallen into a category called collectivism. And we're all, you know, we're in this together, right? That was the narrative of COVID. We're in this together. Do this, don't do this for you, do this for others. You're here to protect others. You may be vaccinated in double mask and triple mask, but still keep getting shots for other people somehow. That idea is what's at the root of the immobility of the people, because we care. Everything that has had the people do, good people do bad things is literally because they're compassionate. It's weaponized compassion. Because we care, I know that I was on the front line of so many battles as an activist for 20 years, and I look back at them and I realize now they hooked me in because I cared so much. I wanted to help women and minorities and all of that, and I'm on the front line. Now I understand I was literally fighting for the very forces that I thought we were resisting. And so one of the main issues with collectivism is you're bonded by agreement. And so you have to agree with your tribe to stay connected. So the beauty of that is to realize that the intrinsic, most primal desire for people is to be connected. So much that people will let the world be destroyed around them if that means staying in good grace with my tribe. But what we have to realize...
I got a sign off yesterday. It was okay to do nothing while the world was collapsing around.
That's right. But what we have to realize is that kind of bond is false. It's not built on love. It's built on fear. Because now I'm fearful that the moment I disagree with you, the moment I go, I'm okay with people transitioning if they choose to transition, but I'm kind of not okay with ruining female sports. So I disagree just with this. You're out. It's over. You have to, there's a checklist of like, you have to agree with all of this. So it's a very fragile relationship that you have with your collective. True relationship is independence. True relationship is you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe, but we're connected by spirit. We're connected because we're humans and I love you regardless. That's a true friendship. So for the people that are afraid of being slandered online or attacked or losing your tribe, lose them. Be willing to lose them. Speak your truth, because what shows, and Del and I are a testament to this, I know because we've talked about this a lot of people in our lives that we thought were our friends went away. But the new crowd that showed up, I feel, love me for me. Not because I agree with them, but they love me. And there's nothing better and more than that feeling of security to know my community of friends have my back regardless of what I say and do. They just love me. And that's what people need to come back to is drop the bonds, you know, being bonded by agreement, and just come back into being truthful. And those who resonate with truth will be attracted to you, and then you can live a life of truth and not a masquerade.
What do we say to, I mean, you know, as we are seeing people waking up, then, you know, you start to see these petty arguments, though, breaking out, right? Well, I was anti-vax with you, or I was just COVID vax, you're full vax, you know, there is no virus there. And we so quickly, how do you describe how we so quickly, we come together, you know, we stand for something, we stand up, we don't wear the mask, we sort of find this group, and then we fraction off and go off and then get polarized again. And I would want to blame media, but is it a part of our nature?
It's a long answer, but I'll try to condense what I believe into a nutshell.
I spent years trying to figure this out.
I
so
have
I get it.
too. And here's what I believe. It's interesting because when I remember starting to first study Bible philosophies, and then I heard the name of God is I am that I am. I went,
Yeah.
it's so weird. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I believe that somewhere within our spiritual existence, that we, when we existed as one, truly as oneness, one consciousness, and then we decided to play this game of individuality, that there's almost like a code that was planted of I am not that. So we're constantly looking for where we disagree so that we can have this experience of believing that we are individual. Because the moment we say, I am that, I am that, I am, then we're connected again. And I think this is the moment that game of separation that we decided to play together, I think we're tired of it.
Yeah.
I think the game has gotten old enough to where we have to come back and remember that I am that, I am. And then we'll stop looking for where we disagree all the time. And on another note, that is if people go to plandemic3.com or plandemicseries.com and search out a short film called Our Birthright. It went viral a few months ago. It was my message to the world of exactly what you just brought up. This tendency for us to suddenly praise somebody as an incredible voice, and the moment they say something that we don't agree with, then we trash them, and the whole world piles on them, and then we get rid of them. Some of this is a psychological operation that's planted by these devious people behind these agendas, where they want us all fighting. It's the reason that I was raised with a gay brother. He was already out by the time I was born, so I was it was normalized for me when I came in that my brother has boyfriends and girlfriends sometimes. It was an easy thing for me to accept as a child. Then it was the gay community. Then it was the gay and lesbian community, gay and bisexual lesbian community, LGBTQIA. The acronym is ridiculous at this point. It's such an incredible...
Well, if you have enough acronyms, eventually everyone's...
That's right. So now all the feminists are now fighting the transgender movement, and all the people that just want to live their life with their same-sex lover are fighting against... And that's they slice us and dice us into all these subcategories so that we're vaxxed, unvaxxed, germ theory, whatever theory, and we have to be careful of that tactic. And I always say, is the person moving in the right direction? I don't care if everything they say is perfectly accurate. I'm friends with Alex Jones, and I think I told him on the air, I said, I think some stuff you say is bonkers, crazy, And he said, so do I. But at the same time, I can appreciate you as a human being, what you've been fighting for long before I have.
And I also, and this is the same thing. And of course, I have haters. Some of them are watching right now, I'm sure. And with Alex Jones, what I see in Alex Jones, because it's a good example, right? Because when people look at us, they make this comparison, like you're on a show and blah, blah, blah. And I said to Alex Jones when he's on here, you are doing a show every day for 4 hours straight, and you're planting a flag in everything that you think might be wrong in the world. It's not all going to be wrong. Right. And some of it you're going to be wrong about, but you're making us look at it. Yeah. And that's the job that he sees he has. Yeah. Whereas I have a job where I see it's more important to me that the flags I choose, the things that I'm really going to go after, that I'm perfectly well researched, that is nailed to the wall. So if someone comes in and they really look at the work we're doing, they can say, hey man, they're like almost 100% accurate. It takes more time. I only do a show once a week. That's what I'm guided to do. You're guided to make a film. And in all of this, there's people that, well, why aren't you fighting this fight, Del? Or why don't you stand for that? Well, because I'm not guided to. I'm not guided to be Alex Jones, and I'm not guided to be Mickey Willis. I'm Del Batry. I have lawsuits. I'm winning. I've got things that we got to groove on. And is my one approach the one that's going to save the entire? No, it's going to take all of us.
It's like this good sports metaphors. You're on a baseball team, and everyone's saying, why aren't you playing catcher?
Right.
Because we need other bases covered.
Right,
There's a team here. We all have a function. You do your thing. I do my thing. You do your thing, and let's play together.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people are screaming at me that I should be pitching. I'm really good at shortstop. I just didn't spend my time there. Sorry, but if you got that, nail it. Maybe you get to go all the way to the big game. Let me ask I think the hardest question of all. Because I know you and I, we will sit at night sometimes when you're not editing like you are, like crazy right now. But really, it's this conversation of, I talk about inside my family. My dad was sort of the spiritual, guru guy in Boulder, Colorado, and would always meditate and everything. My mom's like the Mohawk warrior. She's a fighter. And I remember my dad would always say to my mom, Norma, you keep fighting everything, but you're just feeding what you're fighting. You got to back out. You just got to find a place of love. You know, I really grappled with that as I got into this sort of vaccine issue. I've seen these children being maimed and destroyed, and now adults, and I'm sure, you know, as we look at it, you and I both know we've got to recognize our connection. As you said, I am that person that's across from me. But how do we recognize that there's an issue? And that, by definition, says you're an enemy, and I have to fight that. How do we fight the other cells in our body, yet move towards stasis and beauty and connection? Because if my dad was right, I feel like I honestly feel like if I just stepped away right now on the high wire and stopped the work that we're doing, exposing these issues, I think we all go back to sleep and we're dead.
Yeah.
So where's that balance in understanding what you're up against, having compassion for it, not feeding it, but giving life to something better?
Yeah, it is one of the biggest challenges because people have asked me a lot. We spend hours a day in the edit bay, and we look at all the dirtiest media that is provided from around the world. I mean, we have terabytes filled with everything the Taliban has done and whatever. We look at this stuff all day long. And so the question is always, how do I look at it without becoming totally desensitized, where it doesn't matter anymore? And how do I look at it where it doesn't destroy me? Or where I don't become the very thing that we're fighting because I become so bitter and so angry.
Right.
And so it really does require again, when we're in a place of sovereignty where we realize self-care is number one, before my children, before my wife, all of it. And they're incredibly important to me. But daddy takes care of daddy first, right? Not in a selfish way, in a way of my responsibility to my family is taking care of me first. And so we have developed, we've gotten clear with like, look, this is a tough day. We're having a tough day, what we're looking at today. And I might need to go in the backyard and take off my shoes and get in the grass, whatever it might be. But it's so critical that we don't look away from reality, that we are willing to look it in the eyes, this dragon that we're here to slay, and that we don't become the very energies that we're seeking to dissolve in the world. And it takes some inner awareness. It takes us to slow down, which is why our world is designed right now to keep us so damn busy that, I can't go into the bathroom anymore without my cell phone. It's like I feel like something's missing, right? I know I'm not alone
This is
there.
some downtime.
Right,
You got some
right.
downtime right now.
Downtime, I need to be doing
emails.
this, right? Instead of just nothing.
Right.
And so it is required of us to come back to that, of stepping out of being a human doing and be a human being again. So we're just being. I can just go be with my kids without an agenda, without I'm trying to get them ready to go do something and I got a game coming up, but just, how are you? What's going on in your world right now? Being present. The more we can balance out the busyness of our distracted existence with presence, because truly at the end of the day, Del, and I discovered this from being a father and interviewing so many people far more intelligent than I'll ever be, is at the end of the day, our greatest gift to give each other is presence. Pure presence. Not presence with a bunch of cognitive busyness going on. I'm trying to get something from you or make you like me or achieve something. No agenda, but just human to human. How are you, my brother? And can we be present to Del the human, not Del the host of the high wire or any of that? How do we come back into giving the gift of presence to our children, to our spouses, to our friends, neighbors? Stop every now and then. And I've been working on that. I'm in the backyard. I have an elderly couple behind us, and I can see them. And I've always seen them. They're out watering the lawn. And just lately, I thought, hi, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Hi. You want some eggs? Our chicken's just laid egg. Okay, great. Let's connect again.
Yeah.
Let's come back into that. You're my neighbor.
Yeah.
We don't just live next to each other. We're neighbors. We're in a community together.
Yeah.
And just that slightest show of presence to this elderly couple, they just light up.
Yeah.
They just light up. And so more of that.
Yeah.
More of that is what I recommend.
Yeah, I think, and I agree with you. It's time to fall in love with each other again, with people again. And then I think you start recognizing whatever's trying to tell us I'm not allowed to love my neighbor.
Yeah.
That there's something I'm supposed to hate in them. That's what I should probably start pushing away from my life and stay focused in here. I think that's what we're trying to do here. I really can't wait for the Great Awakening. I mean, it looks like, you know, and been peeking in here and there and watching this process. Man, I mean, it's, you're about to bring it. You're about to make us look at it, aren't you? Right in the eyes.
We're doing our best, Del, and I will say to you that, you know, 3 years later after the release, we just celebrated May 4th, the 3-year release from Plandemic 1, and it was a really bittersweet experience for me, to be perfectly transparent with you. Because on one hand, we got to go, wow, 3 years later, and 100% of every claim we made in both movies are 100% accurate, and the world is waking up to it right now.
Yeah.
And part of me, as my crew is celebrating, I'm sitting back wishing, I wish I were wrong. Yeah. I really do. It's so fun to be right. I mean, there's a natural tendency for us we love to be right.
Yeah.
But in these cases, I wish I were wrong. And I wish that the stuff is going to be conveyed in the Great Awakening. I wish I were wrong. I know I'm not. But people need to wake up to what's really going on, because it's affecting all of our lives, and the people that are hiding because they don't want to lose their job or disrupt whatever, all of that is under threat anyway. But I'm not a doom and gloom guy. This is what's real. And we need to look at what is actually subverting our lives, our liberties, and our future. And the ownership of everything. There's a major movement right now. You'll own nothing and be happy is the slogan, right? But it's like, it literally is a communist tactic of all private property is owned by the state. But the upside to this is, and how we end the movie, is showing the victories. Like spotlighting the Dutch farmers who were being terrorized. And they fought back peacefully. They used the leverage of their communities, of their intelligence, and they won, and they beat that system for now. That will come back if they go back to sleep. But all around the world, incredible things are happening, and they're led by mama bears and papa bears and ordinary people who just had enough. And so we're going to spotlight all the ways that we can participate in this awakening, because we are the awakening. Like the people are the awakening. And the moment we accept that, then we come out of the nightmare and we awake to the beauty of and the perfection of this existence.
Fantastic. All right, man. Mickey Willis, everybody out there, June 3rd, we are premiering The Great Awakening here on the High Wire. What you want to do is you want to get your email in. You want to register so that you're inside the movie theater that this will be played on. The best way to do that is go to Plandemic3.com. It gives you the ability to register and sign in there. Once you're signed in, you will be allowed access when this thing goes live. There's an undisclosed location where we're going to be going live with the actual screening. So there's going to be a red carpet. I'm going to be with Tracy Beans. We're going to be talking to all of the celebrities and people that are a part of making all this happen. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But really set the calendar. This is an opportunity. I mean, think about what we're doing here. We got to play with this a little bit with Spellers last week. Over 11 million of you were a part of viewing this thing over the week together. I think, you know, probably a million right at the same time. What we want to do is, can you imagine if 1 billion people across the world are signed up to have this experience together? We want to see what that experiment feels like. What if we are all sitting together in this moment and thinking about how together we're going to change this world, staring right in the eyes of what this is all really about? This is what the Great Awakening is, and we're going to put on one of the biggest social experiments that's ever been. So go to Plandemic3.com right now, register in, get your friends to register in. We're going to do something. We're doing it without Hollywood. We're doing it without the studios. We're going to show them this is the way we can change the world. The more people that are signed up, the more they see do this, the more they will realize their days are numbered, and maybe they'll just step out of the way and let us make the world a better place. Mickey, thank you for all your incredible work.
Thank you for everything.
Really looking forward to it.
Likewise.
All right, great.